Thank you. And welcome to the official opening of Diraq's new laboratory. I would like to begin today's proceedings by showing my respect and acknowledging the Bidjigal people who are the traditional custodians of the land where this meeting is being held. I pay my respect to elders, past and present, and I pay my respects to any Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people who are in the audience today. Now, for those of you who I have not yet had the pleasure to meet, I'm Bill Jeffrey, the chair of Diraq, and it's great to see everybody here to help celebrate this progress that the Diraq team has made since its official founding only 2 years ago. This world-class facility that we're dedicating tonight is core to the future of the company as it instantiates the dream of a full-scale, fault-tolerant quantum computer. It is with great pleasure and profound gratitude that we extend a warm welcome to our esteemed special guests. From the federal, state, and local governments, we have the Honorable Ed Husic, Minister for Industry and Science, the Honorable Matt Thistlethwaite, Member for Kingsford Smith, the Honorable Paul Fletcher, Member for Bradfield, the Honorable Jackie Monroe, Member of the New South Wales Legislative Council, Dr. Kathy Foley, Australia's Chief Scientist, and Professor Hugh Durant-White, New South Wales Chief Scientist and Engineer. From the University of New South Wales, we have Professor Attila Brungs, the Vice Chancellor and President of UNSW, Professor Nicholas Fisk, Deputy Vice Chancellor, Research and Enterprise, and Professor Julian Epps, Dean of Engineering. So welcome. Thank you for attending. Now, Einstein once incorrectly argued against the quantum theory by claiming that God does not play dice with the universe. Well, now imagine not just being able to play with those dice, but using loaded dice, being able to control weird quantum phenomenon to enable unimaginable new capabilities. We've now reached that point. The almost incomprehensible physics of the 20th century has now become the engineering of the 21st century. For quantum computing, we know some of the impact that it will have. We have analyst estimates of close to $1 trillion of value creation from optimization algorithms, materials and drug discovery, and improved machine learning. And the national security implications may be even more profound. Australia is well positioned to reap the financial benefits from the quantum economy. This nation hits above its weight class with respect to global science and engineering. And this is due in no small part to the vision of several of the people in this room. Australia's strong commitment to academic excellence, its funding of basic and applied research, and the ability to transition those discoveries into products has provided the foundation upon which companies like Diraq can be built and return value back to Australia, its citizens, and the world. Given the economic and security potential of quantum computing, there is global competition. So why am I excited about Diraq? Well, at the beginning of the quantum computer era, there was optimism that one could generate commercially useful results using only a modest number of qubits. Now we understand that one really needs a fault-tolerant system resulting in the need for millions of qubits, and thus scale becomes critical. Diraq and the UNSW team started with a technology that was already scaled, and that's semiconductors. But conventional wisdom was that you couldn't make this work without using exotic materials, thus eliminating the use of commercial foundries. Andrew and his team proved conventional wisdom wrong by building silicon spin qubits with high-fidelity here at the Australian National Nanofabrication Facility. This was a technical tour de force, and it eliminated the roadblock to leveraging commercial semiconductor foundries. We can now envision a credible path forward, and this is why I'm excited about Diraq. Now, today would not have been possible without the tremendous vision of the Australian government, Diraq's investors, Electus Capital, part of the ICM Group, UNSW, the Higgins Family Investments, and Quantumania. Each of you should be proud of the contribution you and your organization has provided. And the Diraq team. Never have I witnessed such an immensely talented global team of scientists, engineers, and business professionals coming together with such passion and shared vision. It's an honor and a pleasure to work with them. With that, it is also my honor to introduce our special guests and invite them to say a few words. Diraq would not exist without the University of New South Wales. As an American, I'm pretty envious of how well the university-commercial relationship works here in Australia, at least with UNSW. Much of the credit goes to our first speaker, Professor Attila Brungs, the Vice Chancellor and President of UNSW. Professor Brungs assumed his position in 2022, coming from the University of Technology, Sydney, where he also served as Vice Chancellor and President. Professor Brungs is a chemist, getting his PhD from Oxford as a Rhodes Scholar. Professor Brungs, please.
Thank you kindly, Bill. And I too would like to acknowledge the Bidjigal people, the traditional custodians of this land, but also acknowledge them as the traditional custodians of knowledge for this place. Knowledge has been generated on these university grounds for tens of thousands of years, and knowledge is at the heart of what we are as a university. Knowledge is the heart of our mission to make the world around us a better place. Colleagues, friends, and of course my very special guests, it is a real pleasure to welcome you all to the university to celebrate this incredible milestone for Diraq and for quantum computing globally. The opening of the state-of-the-art Diraq lab here at UNSW is another strong step for the founder and CEO, scientific professor, Andrew Diraq, and the team of brilliant engineers, researchers, professionals, visionary partners, investors, who are leading the global charge, and it literally is a global charge, with the bold mission of delivering revolutionary quantum computing technology to the world. UNSW, as you can probably tell from my face, is very proud of Diraq and this vision. Though Diraq may be a spin-out company, is less than 2 years old, they've been on an incredible journey for more than 2 decades. When you have a look in the labs there, you'll see spectacular equipment, wonderful pictures, through microscopes at quite extraordinary technology. But that's not the key to Diraq. Nor is it the key to quantum research here at University of New South Wales. The key is Andrew, the key is Stephanie, the key is Anna, the key is Henry. The key are the incredible people we have here, both at Diraq and at UNSW. Those people, those amazing people who work together and who push the boundaries of science, who almost push the boundaries of reality with a mission to actually make the world around them a better place. Research into quantum computing at UNSW began about 25 years ago. The silicon quantum dot technology, that is Diraq's core, known as electron spin for CMOS quantum dots, was invented right here on campus. And so this incredible company that Andrew founded leverages over 20 years of engineering and research expertise. That's a significant heritage of scientific discovery and innovation that is quintessentially UNSW. Because our university was founded in 1949, our legislation specifically says our mission is to create new scientific research and technological breakthroughs for the benefit of the people of New South Wales and Australia, to make education available to all, to have the skills to use those scientific research and technical advances, with the aim to improving society all. Fast forward 75 years and our world-leading colleagues and partners in Diraq are developing this technology with boundless potential for positive impact in fields as diverse as biochemistry, pharmaceuticals, financial services, cybersecurity, law enforcement and defence. The applications are as broad as they are disruptive. So on behalf of everyone here at UNSW, And I'd also like to thank many of my colleagues here at UNSW who, Andrew, I know have supported you for years, the Deputy Vice-Chancellor of Research and many others. I would like to congratulate on you and everyone at Diraq for this incredible milestone. I look forward to Andrew and your brilliant team changing the world. Billions of quantum dots at a time. Thank you.
It's also my pleasure to introduce our next guest, the Honourable Matt Thistlethwaite, the member for Kingsford Smith. Minister Thistlethwaite has served in his current role since 2013 when he was elected to the House of Representatives. Diraq has been really fortunate to be based within the Kingsford Smith electorate, and we are grateful for the support of the local community. Minister Thistlethwaite.
Thanks, Bill. Good evening, everyone. I also acknowledge that we are on Bidjigal land and pay my respects to elders past, present and emerging. And thank you, everyone, for joining us for this very important launch. Congratulations to the team at Diraq for your investment and your foresight and your innovation and your backing Australian industry here in the electorate that I'm very, very proud to represent. And thank you for basing this important lab here at University of New South Wales. UNSW, as Attila has outlined, 25 years ago, made the decision to invest in and collaborate with scientists around developing quantum computing. And I imagine at the time that would have been a risky decision for a Vice-Chancellor. I can imagine a scientist, let alone trying to explain to a Vice-Chancellor what quantum computing was all about, and then asking for millions of dollars of money to establish a research facility. But to their credit, UNSW made that investment. And we all know the groundbreaking work that Professor Michelle Simmons this year awarded the Prime Minister's Medal for Science, the work that her team has been doing here at University of New South Wales. Well, it's great to see now that Diraq is commercialising that work and building on that foundation of collaboration between UNSW and industry right here in our community. And this investment is going to have enormous implications for Australian industry and innovation. I work in the defence space as the Assistant Minister for Defence, and I can see the benefits that quantum computing is going to have for cryptography, anything to do with coding and decoding of large amounts of data, logistics associated with the Defence Forces, not to mention Pillar 2 of AUKUS, Australia's largest and most complicated industrial endeavour that we will ever enter into. The sky is literally the limit when it comes to the work that is going to be performed here in this laboratory. And that's why the government is very, very proud of innovations such as this. And that's why I'm very pleased that the Minister for Industry and Science, Ed Husic, is here with us tonight. I don't think that you'd find a person in the Australian Parliament that is more passionate about industry and innovation and developing Australia's scientists than Ed Husic. The rest of the Cabinet, the Federal Cabinet, is actually in Perth at the moment. They've got a cabinet meeting going on over there. And I said to Ed when I came here, I said, mate, why aren't you in Perth? And he said, because this is important. And he is right. This is really important, not only to the community that I represent, but to Australian industry and the endeavours that will be undertaken here at this research facility and this quantum lab. So thank you, Ed, for being here. Thank you to the team at Diraq. Thank you to UNSW for your collaboration. And I certainly, on behalf of our community, wish you all the best. And thank you for the work that you're about to perform at this important facility. Cheers.
It is a special privilege to introduce our next guest, the Honourable Ed Husic, the Minister for Industry and Science. Minister Husic has served in his current role since 2022, and he has been a member of the Australian House of Representatives since 2010. During his tenure, he has been a strong advocate for technology innovation and commercialization, in particular to ensure that Australia and its citizens reap the rewards of the research investments made within the country, of which Diraq is a great example. Minister Husic.
I just want to start by acknowledging and paying my respects to the Bidjigal and thank them for their custodianship of the land in which we meet. As Matt indicated, and I just want to acknowledge Matt's presence, Paul Fletcher, Shadow Minister for Science, along with Jackie Munro, MLC, also Attila. Great to always be here with you, and also Chief Scientist, Dr. Kathy Foley, who was instrumental in bringing together the National Quantum Strategy and the nation's first quantum strategy, really important. And Bill, thank you so much for the intro. This is a big deal for me, as Matt indicated, because the PM takes the whole cabinet over to Perth, and then you have to explain you're not going to be there. So for my last speech as Industry and Science Minister, I thought it was good to be here. Diraq, what I do for you and Diraq. But it is a big deal because what you're doing here is profoundly going to change not just the way we live our lives here, but globally. And Australia does way better. When you look at proportionally the amount of research that we do and the groundbreaking work we do and the number of companies that are starting to emerge, as much as this is about Diraq today, I want to mention Q Control, obviously SQC, want to mention as well Quintessence, or you go to Quantum Brilliance. There are a number of different firms that are starting to emerge and to build an ecosystem, and I'm absolutely determined that we will make the world take notice of your work, and we will make sure through either the quantum strategy or the work that we're doing to put the investment funds around to make it easier for you to get the capital to grow. And obviously we recognise the huge, great work that you've been able to do in terms of the Series A2 capital raise for Diraq, which is a massive and a great achievement. But you've done that in a climate where it's really tough to get that funding, particularly out of VCs, and we've got to be able to free that up. I mean, what you've been able to achieve is phenomenally great and important for the future directions of the company. We've got to make it easier. We want to see more of these firms grow, and the way in which you'll be able to break and unlock. It's not, when you look at quantum technologies, everyone talks about computing, but it's the sensing, it's the communications, all that work that's being unlocked. But if we can crack quantum computing in particular, like what that will be able to do that classic computing cannot, and the problems we can solve to make life better for people at a very critical way, we need firms like Diraq. And we are blessed with the fact that you've been able to achieve what you've been able to do here, what you've been able to obviously work with others abroad as well. The number of people that you've employed, can all the Diraq team put your hands up, please? He's put up 2 for... Well, so am I. But well done to you all, because it's showing you, and the reason why I asked for that is to be able to show you that this is creating great jobs here in this country. So that's why it's such a big deal to me to be able to be here and tell you how much I value what you're doing. And it's further evidence of the extraordinary impact that these companies are having. It's a demonstration of what you're having on the global ecosystem. And so it is a privilege to be able to open your quantum computing lab, help kickstart another chapter in your company's impressive story. Under the expert leadership of Andrew, Diraq has risen to become a world leader in building quantum processors using silicon quantum dots, and spun out of the brilliant work being undertaken at the Uni of New South Wales and the ARC Centre for Quantum Computation and Communications Technology. And so, again, as I said, what you do and what others do will be critical in transforming the way we live our lives. Andrew quoted in Forbes Australia 2022 as saying, "There is no point going into business if you don't intend to win." And I love that attitude, because it's the ambition and determination that sums up this company, the Australian company's approach to breaking in to the quantum field. We ranked 5th globally in quantum computing research. This country, the small country that's always underestimated, is making all that headway. Very important for us to recognise and use that to fuel further growth. It's the tenacity, the foresight and the drive of companies like Diraq that will ensure we remain a global leader in this area, and we want to applaud Andrew and the entire team. We're getting behind you and others by implementing the quantum strategy launched last year. We even managed to get reference to quantum in a budget speech. Who would have thought? But we're making sure that the awareness is built across government, and I'll speak more at that tomorrow's conference. We announced a further $60 million in funding for programs aimed at growing the sector on top of the $4.6 million announced earlier to fund up to 20 quantum PhDs and grow the quantum talent pipeline. And we've recently announced the Australian Centre for Quantum Growth Initiative, and we're going through... Is that my time? The speaker. I mean, if there's one thing that works in Sydney in summer is having a big group of people in a confined space and talking as the fourth speaker. I mean, I can't make this work any better. Anyhow, I'll take that as a cue and just say it means a great deal, I think, for all of us to be here at this milestone moment, to will you on to bigger and better from where you are already at, doing phenomenal things. We can't wait to see what else emerges out of this lab, and to all know that we were here on this day as you took your next step. So well done to you all, and thank you for your time.
And if I could, oh, actually,
I ain't going anywhere.
oh, okay.
There's a ribbon to cut.
There is.
I'm going.
So,
Okay. Do you want to come around to the front? You want me to come? Yeah, I think at the front might be. Okay. Everyone, Bill was a director at NIST, so I do everything he says.
yes. You're the only one who does them.
Thanks. Should we do it together?
Well, I don't know how, I think it's going to be...
Yeah, that might be.
Let me hold it.
Ready?
Yeah.
Okay, we're all very natural here.
Yeah.
1, 2, 3, and cut. Please don't be blunt. Yay!
That was great. Thank you. I am now very pleased to introduce Dr. Cathy Foley, Australia's Chief Scientist. Dr. Foley has served in her current position since 2021 and previously served as the Chief Scientist of CSIRO. Dr. Foley has also been a strong advocate for realizing value creation from transformative technologies, both in her current role as well as her time on the Prime Minister's Science, Engineering, and Innovation Council. And I should add that Dr. Foley is a technical expert in nitride semiconductors and superconducting electronics. So if any of the Diraq team needs a little bit of extra technical help, please grab her before she leaves tonight. Dr. Foley.
Oops. So, look, thank you so much for that. And I also want to acknowledge the traditional owners of the land we're on, but also raise the idea that if you ever meet an Aboriginal or Torres Strait Islander, I really recommend you ask them about their perception of time, because it's very quantum-based. So it's something which is really, really interesting. But also, I thought, since I'm the last speaker, and I've known Andrew for quite a few years, that I thought I might just talk about where he's come from. And that is, we go back a long way. We organised conferences together, ICON conference in 2010, I think it was, in Darling Harbour. And back when, I think it was about 2007, when the Australian National Fabrication Facility was being set up around the country, Andrew was here setting up the New South Wales node, and I was, even though I live in Sydney, working in Melbourne, trying to set up and help see the Victorian node of the ANFF, which is housed in the Melbourne Centre for Nanofabrication, and just seeing the struggles of trying to bring together a whole new way of working, which I think is really exemplar of what I think is the Australian way, which is that we club together, we do things collectively, we use the resources we have and share them, and then be able to do great stuff. And this is an example of it today. It's also fantastic then to build on that and nominate Andrew for prizes such as the Eureka Prize, which, by the way, he won. And it's just so gratifying to see him want to get to the point where he's taken that research that fundamental research that is published in journals which I would dream of being able to take my research to and be published in, and turn this into something which is truly an ambition to have a full error-corrected quantum computer built here. And if any of you know, we've heard the quote from Forbes, which he made, is that if you know Andrew, he never does anything by halves, and he actually delivers more than what he said he'd ever do. So I'm pretty hopeful, Andrew, no pressure. But you know already that this is a technology that is world-class, but the thing which I want to emphasise is the approaches that he's done. Lots of patents, and if you go into his lab, you see them on the wall, which I was thinking, oh, that's a good idea, putting them on the wall, so that's something to take away. But it's underwritten by the importance of publishing his work in peer-reviewed journals that's got that assurance, which for me is absolutely saying that I think we can trust the physics and that something is really going to deliver. But the other is also, when Andrew does anything, he brings everyone along with him. He has always had teams that support him all the way and support him with his ambition. The other thing which I think has been really wonderful to see is Andrew going through with his team, transitioning from being in an amazing university with the whole infrastructure which is provided by both state and Commonwealth funding, and then turning that into something where there's a realisation of the commercial world and what it takes to transition from a laboratory professor with a known income to actually jumping off the cliff and saying, this is something where I believe in what I've got. I'm going to attract investors. I'm going to partner globally. And I'm going to be successfully transitioning into a founder of a business. And I know that 10 years ago that would not have happened in Australia, but it is happening now. And the reason why it's happening is for a range of things, from whether it's the ON program that I think has really ignited the entrepreneurialism of many Australian researchers, but it's also, I think we've got the ability to build on this fundamental research that has been invested in, some of it from particularly the university sector in the last 25 years and decades before that in CSIRO where I came from. And then we have had the government come along and create a national strategy, which is, I think, in action now. And I think, Minister, we are delivering on it. We're seeing companies like Diraq growing fast. In fact, startup companies in quantum are growing faster than probably many other companies. We struggle with getting companies to go above 20 people, and we're heading that way with many of our quantum startups. But hopefully, the fact that we're transitioning and delivering on the quantum strategy will give you a leave pass, Minister, so that you won't be in trouble with the Prime Minister. So, yeah, we'll make sure, put that in the papers, please. So, look, just to finish off, because we're all dripping because it's nice and warm in here, quantum computers are moving so fast. In fact, there was a newsletter which I get every morning and I read religiously about what's happening in the world of quantum globally. And they said that it's moving closer to assembly line time to be able to manufacture these things. We are no longer seeing quantum computers as a maybe technology. They are a major disruptor, and we're on an accelerated pathway to delivery, and companies like Diraq is really putting Australia in the top tier because we've got companies working on this, and this is one of them. And this, as I have to repeat, is the result of decades of investment in fundamental science, and they're now having impact. So this is something which the whole quantum community should be proud of because it's a collective community and ecosystem. I know we all hate that word, but it truly is the case that allows people to make that step and to have that impact and to deliver Diraq. Congratulations.
So we actually have two more speakers. Just to clarify. So to realize the transformation of technology to commercial product takes capital, a lot of capital. Diraq has been fortunate to attract not only government funding, but significant financial support from private capital. The most recent contribution has come from Quantum Nation, who led Diraq's recent capital raise with Christoph Diraq as its founder and partner. Christoph has a PhD in quantum physics, having done his research on laser cooling of neutral atoms. In 2018, he launched Quantum Nation, the first early-stage VC fund dedicated to quantum technologies. It's a pleasure to have such a technical expert and visionary on the Diraq team. And Christoph is spending his birthday with us today. So,
Thank you very much for making it today, for having me as well. Lots of new faces for me here. I live in Boston most of the time, or in Paris, in New York, and coming to Sydney has been a long journey, but I'm very happy to have the opportunity to talk to you about what we're doing and why we invested in Diraq as well. To add to the introduction, I wanted to mention that Quantumation is really a fund focused on quantum and physics. We have made 28 investments in the world so far. We have a fund that's, so I converted to Australian dollars, so that looks even better, 250 million US dollars that we have under management. We invested into this round. We target 500 million for the fund, so even more companies. So for those who are thinking about starting companies here in Sydney, definitely we're interested to talk. And just a side note, actually, was very excited this afternoon. I met with 3 students, PhD students, who came to me from Uni Sydney and told me they want to start something. I mean, like it was really new from scratch, first day. Well, I said a couple of not so nice things maybe to them, like how we should do it. But I think they're on to a very nice project. So Diraq is one thing. I mean, it took some time to bring it here. I'm also very excited about the new projects that we see coming. So we invested in Diraq first, and people ask me all the time, why do you invest in a company? We invest first because of the science, because that's the best science in the world. For what they're doing in silicon spin qubits. And I've known Andrew, I think, since 5 or 6 years. We met in Paris at first. Actually, I had a connection with University of New South Wales through Andrea Morello, whom I've seen here, because back in 2016, when I was starting the fund, I was looking at these videos on YouTube. I mean, many of you know these videos. I'm a physicist, so I did my PhD with Alain Aspect, the Nobel Prize from last year on this technology. But still, I mean, when I looked at this video in 2016, it was a big inspiration. And I learned about silicon spin qubits at the time through Andrea, actually. And it was like a little bit a dream come true last year when I visited his lab and met in person. I don't know, he's here. I've seen him somewhere. Like, he's there. Okay, thank you. Thank you, Andrea. You're a little bit a part of a Quantumation story, actually. So I'm very happy to acknowledge that. So about Diraq, what is really, well, there's the science, of course, but the reason why we would not make an investment usually is the lack of imagination. That sounds a bit weird, but that's really what I'm interested in. What I'm interested in founders who have a vision, a big vision. Unfortunately, I must say, physicists, and no offense to anybody around here, sometimes they lack that. They lack the imagination about what to do with the technology they are developing that has been funded through governments, different mechanisms. And they need to bring back and send back something to the public as well. I think that's really important. You have to think about the applications. And it's not a bad word. I mean, like, think about the applications of science, think about what to do with it, and dream big. And that's what I like a lot about Andrew and the team. A big vision, very exciting, billions of qubits. It's not for tomorrow. Doesn't matter. Might take time, might take, I will not say the number of years because I will be quoted for that, I'm pretty sure. But that's really an important factor for us to have founders who have a lot of ambition like that. And last, I wanted to mention maybe what we will bring to the team. So we have 28 companies now with Diraq in our portfolio. We'd like to help them connect also with the rest of the world. As was mentioned, Minister Husic a little bit earlier, I was in Japan last week with 4 CEOs of our portfolio talking to big pharmas and working on computational drug design, how quantum computers could help with that. I think that's the kind of connection we'd like to bring to Diraq and the team as well, work together, connect with the rest of the world. We're based in New York, in Boston, in Paris, so strong connections with the US and also Europe. And I'm pretty sure that's something Diraq will take benefit from. And the last thing I wanted to mention, and I'm using the opportunity of having a minister here, I wanted to maybe just mention a suggestion about what we've seen that works really well in our ecosystems. And I've read that, a nice quote actually in a book on the Apollo mission a couple of weeks ago. It was super interesting because it was mentioning, telling about the story of integrated circuits, in the development of the integrated circuits industry in the 60s. And at some point, the Apollo program was buying 100% of the integrated circuit production through MIT, actually. And the price was super high, obviously, but year after year, it went down. From 100%, they went over 3 or 4 years to 50%. Just giving the example because it has happened before. Procurement, public procurement is key. That's the way for Australia, I think. That has been the case for France. It has worked really well. Public procurement to build a sovereign industry in quantum is really key. I think, if anything, I think you want to have an Australian industry here. So, of course, we're not based in Australia. We're for investor based, well, we're investing everywhere. We pick the best of the best, and I think it's in Diraq and it's here. Very happy about that. But if anything, I would suggest build on that unique infrastructure that you're having here with the lab, with the facility, the shared infrastructures, to build more companies. And we're here for that, Quantumation Ventures. So with Diraq as a first step, our first investment in Australia, but very happy to help with anything. Studio ideas, more startups, new projects, etc. We believe in the ecosystem. We never invest in places where we don't think there's potential to make it bigger. And really happy to be here with you and happy to discuss anything, even really weird ideas. That's how it starts. And that we build great companies together. Thank you very much.
We have one more speaker, someone who I think several of you know, the Australian Research Council Laureate Fellow and Scientia Professor, Andrew Diraq, who is the founder and CEO of Diraq. You don't get off that easy. I still have to embarrass you a little bit more. Professor Diraq is a globally recognized technical expert, an entrepreneur, leader and visionary, as well as a friend. His vision and insight in leveraging the trillions of dollars already invested in semiconductor fabrication has set the company and Australia apart from the global competition. With that, Andrew, please.
Okay, I'm really conscious that we have been soaking up a lot of time and people have been soaking up a lot of sweat. But look, I just want to say firstly, thank you firstly to Bill for a really kind introduction, but more importantly for accepting our invitation to be the chairman of Diraq back in 2022. The guidance that you've provided our board has been absolutely invaluable. And it also, I think, is reflective, our friendship is reflective of the friendship between our two great nations, Australia and the United States. And I'm very pleased to have many reps from the United States here as well as our friends from the United Kingdom. For those who aren't aware, Bill has had a number of very important leadership roles in the United States. He was the director of the new US National Institute of Science and Technology, NIST, for many years, president and CEO of HRL Labs, the former Hughes Research Labs, and also the president and CEO of the Stanford Research Institute. He's also served on many advisory boards to the US government. So you can appreciate how much and what we get from having Bill on the board. I had to make some embarrassing statements about you, Bill, because you've done a great job today as well. Look, I'd also really like to thank all of our wonderful speakers who have made the time to be here today, including obviously particularly Minister Ed Husic, thank you very much, Minister Thistlethwaite, the Honourable Paul Fletcher, Honourable Jackie Munro, our New South Wales Chief Scientist and Engineer, Hugh Durrant-White, who I saw over here, and of course Cathy Foley, our Australian Chief Scientist. And I've really appreciated all the words that you've said. It's really humbling to hear it. It's also very pleasing to have people here from the UNSW community, including obviously our Vice-Chancellor, Attila Brungs, who spoke so eloquently, Vice-Chancellor Nick Fisk, who did so much to help us establish Diraq, and the Dean of Engineering, Julian Epps. And also, thank you. I mean, I was not expecting a turnout quite like this when we planned the launch of the Diraq Lab. It's humbling to have so many people from the international science and technology community, quantum community, and the investment community from all around the world who are here today. Okay, so look, as Bill stated very eloquently in his introductory remarks, quantum computing has the potential to be world-changing, with impacts on areas as diverse as healthcare, logistics, finance, and national security. The total market is estimated ultimately to be in the hundreds of billions of dollars per annum. Hence the number of companies that are starting up, including, as we've just heard, many great companies here in Australia besides Diraq. To give just one example of the potential for quantum computing, is the possibility to design and predict the behaviour of new pharmaceuticals that could be used to cure existing diseases, but also to stop pandemics that nature may throw up against us, as we saw a few years ago. Existing computers, even the most powerful supercomputers, simply cannot accurately predict and design these types of pharmaceuticals. It was another Nobel Prize-winning physicist, Richard Feynman, who first pointed out this problem with standard computing. And Feynman was a brilliant communicator, science communicator, as people would know, as well as a brilliant physicist, Nobel Prize winner. And he was at Caltech, near Silicon Valley, and it's not surprising that the computer industry asked him to speak at a conference about the future of computing. And in that 1981 lecture, he made the point, he essentially made the case that standard computers, no matter how big, ultimately, or how powerful, simply could not calculate the state of molecular systems of anything more than simple complexity. Feynman explicitly said, nature isn't classical, damn it. And if you want to make a simulation of nature, you'd better make it quantum mechanical. And by golly, it's a wonderful problem because it doesn't look so easy. And with those words in that lecture, the whole field of quantum computing began. And for the last 40 years, we've had many brilliant minds and a lot of investment and effort that's gone in to try to develop quantum computing. And it's taken a long time because, as Feynman put it, it doesn't look so easy. And I can tell you that never a truer word was spoken. And the reason why it's not so easy is because to perform quantum computations with quantum states, quantum bits, means having to manipulate tiny particles, single electrons in our case, or single photons, or single atoms, with exquisite precision. And to make it even harder, you need to do this with millions of these qubits, and you need to do it precisely. And then you have to correct errors that keep occurring. So, look, I've been working, as you've already heard, on quantum computing for over a quarter of a century. A colleague of mine here at UNSW called Bruce Kane came up with the original idea of using silicon as a host for quantum bits. And that was the atom approach that is now being explored by companies like SQC. That was back in 1998, and I was hired along with Bruce by Professor Bob Clark. I'm not sure if Bob's managed to make it here tonight, but I just want to acknowledge that Bob was an absolute seminal figure in the development of quantum computing. He established the Centre for Quantum Computing in 2000, and with that centre, it has now produced talent that is spread all around the world, leaders of companies all around the planet, and of course, created the incredible capabilities that we have in Australia. So over those 25 years, I've personally been on a journey, and probably the most important part of that entire journey was around about the mid-2000s when I got explained to me the requirements for quantum error correction, and I was horrified. I was truly horrified because it became clear you need millions of these qubits, and I knew how hard it was to control just a couple. So at that point, I seriously was wondering, should I stay in this field? But I had the fortune to be working at the time with someone we've heard about earlier, Andrea Morello. I hired him as a postdoc, and now he's a very leading Scientia professor here at the university. And with Andrea, we demonstrated those first single atom qubits and published it in Nature back in 2012. And it wasn't the atoms that actually ended up being the solution. It was the device we used to read out the spins of those atoms. My team in 2007 had developed a modified transistor that could be reduced down to small numbers of electrons. We used this for the readout devices, but I was becoming very concerned about how to manufacture these atomic structures with the precision needed to get to millions with that reliability. And the penny dropped. What about if we actually use these single electron transistors and turn those into quantum bits? And just 2 years later, we did, with our brilliant team of experimentalists and theorists, we demonstrated that first silicon qubit, after we patented it, I should say. And the fidelity that we got and published in that Nature Nanotechnology paper was 99.6%, which for aficionados, people know that's a very, very high benchmark to get right off that. It's actually sufficient fidelity to do error correction. Just a year later, we demonstrate 2-qubit logic using the same technology. And since that time, we've managed to generate a variety of new breakthroughs over the past decade. The key point about using these silicon modified transistors is it uses exactly the same technology as we have inside our mobile phones and our laptops. In a chip in here, we've got something like 10 to 100 billion transistors, all working perfectly. Okay. We can use exactly the same technology, exactly the same chip-making plants in order to make silicon qubits at that scale. In my view, it is the only way to get to fault-tolerant quantum computing. In the lab over there, as I showed the Minister and our guests, we're currently measuring devices from foundries around the world. These are devices that are already providing extremely promising results. I can't announce at the moment exactly what they are, but I will ask people to stand by over the coming months when we do make some announcements. What I can say is that when we began the company, a year before, in 2021, we set 2 key milestones for the company in its first 3 years, so by mid-2025. One, we wanted to push the devices we made locally from 2 qubits up to 9 qubits. That was basically in order to show and learn more about the qubits themselves so that we could design them in our chip foundries overseas. The other goal, which is more commercially important for the long-term future of the company, was to develop partnerships with chip foundries around the world and to get qubits made. And as I've said, we're already measuring the first ones. So it's incredibly positive what we're getting at the moment. And what we're going to be doing in this laboratory as we build it up, we've already got initial measurements going on in there, but with the Series A2 funding, we're expanding our capital infrastructure, we're having more platforms, and ultimately, in the second phase of our company, which we intend to reach by the end of 2028, so in just over 4 years' time, we intend to develop a complete quantum computing system with many, many thousands of quantum bits made in chip foundries, with all of the control systems all in one dilution refrigerator. The significance of this is that when we look at competing technologies, be they superconducting qubits, photonic qubits, or ion trap qubits, these systems need huge space and area and enormous amounts of power to run them. Estimates of megawatts of power for just one quantum computer. This is not a commercial pathway. In contrast, we can run our quantum computers with just a couple of kilowatts. So we have a vision that data centres in the future will have banks of Diraq quantum computers that will be performing algorithms that we will use eventually on a daily basis. So they're end of the technology lesson. But look, I do have to finish with some quick thank yous, and I'm conscious of the time. But I have to thank our investors, particularly our foundation investor, Electus Capital and ICM Limited, and particularly our board members, Matt Gould and former board member Jason Chong, and also ICM's founder and chairman, Duncan Saville, who's, I'm pleased to say, is with us today. You know, their conviction in our technology and the work they did to help us spin out was amazing. And of course, you've heard from Christoph. I mean, how fortunate are we to have a company like Quantunation and people as visionary as Christoph and his team. You should meet his team. They're all brilliant people. They understand quantum computing and they understand the global ecosystem, because this truly is a global ecosystem, as you already heard. I also, of course, have to thank our government, the Commonwealth government, our state government, and I should say governments present and past, because of course this has been, and one of the reasons I'm so pleased to have people like Paul Fletcher here, is that we see bipartisanship when it comes to the development of quantum computing. And I really respect the way that, Ed, you have acknowledged that time and time again about the bipartisan nature. We also have to thank the US government and their Army Research Office, who have been funding our research here since 1999 and still continue to fund us. That relationship with the US is absolute bedrock. So, to finish, I hope I've given you a bit of a glimpse into the vision of Diraq, you know, and to understand why CMOS qubits really provide the future pathway to fault tolerance. So, this new laboratory was built with an enormous amount of effort from some really great people, from Farringdon Constructions, from UNSW Estate Management, and also I appointed one of our most junior engineers. She'd just come out of a Bachelor of Engineering degree. Where is Alexandra Dickey? There she is, who oversaw, yes please, her first job out of a degree, I said, "Are you happy to build a $2 million laboratory?" And she said, "Okay." And she oversaw it brilliantly. That's the calibre of the team that I have. And it's the reason why Diraq is going to succeed. We will build the world's first fault-tolerant quantum computer, and we'll do it right here in Sydney as an Australian headquartered company, ultimately a global company. Thank you very much.
Before we wrap up, putting together an event like this is the hard work of a lot of people, and I can't thank every single one of them, but there are 3 people that I wanted to do a shout out to. I'd like to thank Stephanie Tardo and Larissa Steele from Diraq and Karen Jury from UNSW for really pulling this together. So let's give them a round of applause. You know, this is an exciting day for Diraq, but it's also a celebration, and I will use the term ecosystem, of the entire Australian quantum ecosystem, which includes the role of the federal government, the state governments, the universities, and the private capital investors who have the vision to recognize the potential. With continued support, we will all be back here again soon, hopefully a little cooler, for unveiling the world's first full-scale, fault-tolerant quantum computer. Right, Andrew? Absolutely. Okay. That's good. So, to all of the attendees, thank you for helping to celebrate this milestone for Diraq. Now, please, let's enjoy the rest of the reception upstairs. So, with that.